Welcome to our channel, where we explore the most amazing and unusual topics. Today we will dive into the world of biology to answer the question that many people are worried about. How much does the human body cost? We will look at different aspects to understand how our organs and tissues are evaluated. From the heart and liver to the rare elements in our blood, every part of our body has its own value. Join us to find out what secrets the cost of the human body hides and what it means to you and me. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click on the bell so you don't miss our new videos. As a child, you could be called priceless, but it didn't help to buy a puppy. And although you were considered a gold digger, this did not increase the family budget by your weight in gold. Modern legislation recognizes the pricelessness of human life, which leads to a ban on slavery and strict punishment for crimes against man. However, just like millennia ago, the modern world cannot avoid estimating the cost of living. Let's plunge into history. The laws of Hammurabi, dating back to 1750 BC, estimated the life of a slave in Babylon at 170 grams of silver, which is equivalent to about $60. Russian truth reflects that in the 12th century, the price of life in Kievan Rus ranged from 5 to 80 hryvnia, or from $400 to $6,000, depending on social status. In the era of Yaroslav the Wise, in addition to the basic maintenance, mercenaries were paid 27 hryvnia of silver per year, which is equivalent to $1,000 at today's exchange rate. Research by insurance companies shows that in the 12th century, silver had a much greater purchasing power. Comparing the salaries of the then mercenaries with the incomes of American soldiers in Iraq, the cost of living according to the Russian truth is estimated from $32,000 to $340,000. Russian truth established a higher cost of living for a woman compared to a man. Compensation for the death of a slave was 5 hryvnia, while for a slave 6 hryvnia. These amounts are equivalent to more than 1,000 modern dollars, which is sometimes the payment for the services of hired killers in modern Russia. At the beginning of the 19th century, serfdom was estimated at an amount equal to $1,300 by modern standards. Admiral Chichagov mentions in his memoirs that 150 rubles were paid for a man, the price set by the state. At the same time, he sold English horses from the factory for 300 to 400 rubles, which was twice the cost of a person. The cost of 1 ruble at that time was 18 grams of silver, which is equivalent to about $9. By 1860, there were about 4 million slaves in the United States, and before the Civil War, the price of a slave reached $1.800. If you recalculate the value in terms of gold, this is approximately 4 million modern rubles, which is significantly higher than the value of a serf in the Russian Empire. We are all unique and priceless, but in the modern world absolutely everything is bought and sold, even flesh and organs. Now let's calculate how much a person is worth. The discussion of organ transplantation often causes discomfort, compounded by the media, which give a sensational touch to this topic. Organ trafficking is banned worldwide, except in Iran, where high demand faces ethical dilemmas, the solution of which remains the subject of debate. There are body parts that can be sold without harming your health. Hair. When we ask about the cost of a person, we usually do not mean hair. However, they are the ones that can be legally sold. And the good thing is that such a sale can be repeated because the hair grows again. Only hair over 50 centimeters long is subject to sale. Before setting a price, buyers evaluate their quality. The most valuable are unpainted, thin and blonde hair, which can be sold for $100 per 100 grams. Brown hair is also in demand and is estimated at $50 per 100 grams, while colored and dark hair are cheaper, from $10 to $20 per 100 grams. Split ends, lengths of less than 50 centimeters and cascading haircuts significantly reduce the value of hair, and in this case it can be difficult to determine the exact cost since it depends on supply and demand in the market. Sperm. Any healthy man between the ages of 18 and 35, sometimes up to 40 years old, depending on the clinic's policy, can become a sperm donor. Donation compensation ranges from $150 to $400 per session at various centers. However, the payment is not made immediately. First, you need to undergo a medical examination, including HIV and hepatitis tests, as well as a general medical examination and, more recently, DNA analysis. In addition, many clinics pay money to donors only after confirming the cryostability of sperm, which can take up to 6 months. Donors should refrain from using drugs, tobacco and alcohol, as well as from sexual activity and visiting baths and saunas 3 to 5 days before delivery. Failure to follow these recommendations may reduce the cost of sperm. Donors can donate sperm up to 5 to 6 times a month, but the clinic's need for biomaterial from one donor may be less. Clinics control the number of children from one donor, limiting their number to 20 for every 800,000 residents, after which clinics may refuse to donate. Eggs. Any healthy woman between the ages of 18 and 30, sometimes up to 35 years old, who has given birth to at least one healthy child, has the opportunity to donate eggs. The extraction procedure is performed intravaginally using local anesthesia. A thorough medical examination is required before the procedure. For the donation of one egg, compensation is offered from 50 to 80,000 rubles, while donation is possible no more than every 3 months and no more than 6 to 8 times in a lifetime. This gives an idea of the cost of a human egg. Blood. Any healthy adult weighing over 50 kilograms can become a blood donor. The WHO standard provides for the donation of 450 milliliters of blood in one session. Women can donate blood every 3 months, and men can donate blood every 2 months. The amount of compensation is determined as a percentage of the region's subsistence level from 8% to 45%, sometimes with an additional bonus of 5%. For example, in 2017, donors received from $120 to $700, depending on the type of blood. Donors are also entitled to 2 days of paid leave, as well as tea and chocolate as a bonus. In Russia, organ donation during life is allowed only between close relatives, including spouses and their relatives. Posthumous donation does not involve remuneration. The legislation provides that everyone, including minors, can be considered as a donor after death, if there is no direct prohibition from the deceased himself or his relatives. The value of organs in financial terms is not estimated, as it is assumed that relatives agree to donation for altruistic reasons. But for selling organs in Russia, you can get up to 5 years in prison. However, there is a black market where risky transactions connect sellers and buyers. We studied this business to find out the mechanisms of illegal transplantation and the real cost of a human kidney. An article in Furfa magazine in 2015 published an interview with a man who, bypassing the law, arranges meetings between donors and those in need of transplantation. The interviewee noted that such operations often occur in South American countries, Ecuador, Brazil and Argentina. He mentioned the prices of organs. A kidney is estimated at $50,000, bone marrow at $20,000, and part of the liver at $60,000. The mediator also said that after an operation performed by qualified specialists from leading clinics, the donor needs 10 to 30 days for rehabilitation, and the initial stage of recovery is funded by the organizers. About 9 years ago, I wanted to sell a kidney myself. The reasons were the same as most of the donors who came to us. They needed money. Someone's credit history does not allow them to contact the bank. Someone simply will not be able to pay back a large amount, and in most cases, time is running out, says the hero of the interview. In such circumstances, when donation is the only alternative, only a few are willing to donate their organs selflessly, and the desire for reward is fully justified. Before the ban on paid donation was introduced, blood donors could earn several thousand rubles, depending on the volume and type of donated material. There were groups on social media offering quick access to blood donation for a fee. We are engaged in selecting a beer for a potential donor and vice versa. On the part of the donor, we help to solve financial problems. On the part of the recipient, to get the opportunity to recover from a deadly disease. Such arguments are given by the mediator. Finding a suitable donor without reliable intermediaries is a difficult task. Fraudulent advertisements for the urgent sale of organs can often be seen on social networks. Such ads are usually misleading, requiring future donors to pay for a medical examination, and then disappear after receiving the money. In Turkey, intermediaries can offer donors as little as $10,000, although the real prices may be different. Despite the prohibition of commercial transactions with organs in the territory of the former USSR, there are methods to circumvent this law. This is how a person who sells organs describes the process. I have a regular job, and I do this as a side job, since I have a completely different main activity. I do not live in Russia, because I have nothing to do in the countries of the former USSR. I have a medical degree, but I do not perform any operations myself. I act as a consultant and translator. It all starts with the fact that the future donor fills out a small questionnaire on our website, where he indicates age, citizenship, country and city of residence, as well as the presence of a passport and blood type. After which he leaves his contacts. We will contact him soon and discuss all the details. Anyone between the ages of 18 and 55 who has normal health and funds for a flight can become a donor. There are different situations, and we can pay for the donor's trip at our own expense, then deduct the amount spent from the fee. This is decided individually. The cost of the flight ranges from $1,200 to $1,400. Donors must undergo an initial medical examination to rule out hepatitis and HIV. This includes kidney ultrasounds, HIV antibody tests, and hepatitis B and C markers. The procedures are carried out in polyclinics, where falsification of results is impossible due to repeated checks. If the results of the tests are positive and there is a passport, the donor will arrange a trip. Otherwise, the donor receives the passport himself. It is difficult to determine the exact cost of a person, since it is unspecified and depends on many conditions. Transplants most often occur in public clinics in Chile, Argentina, and Ecuador. The choice of country depends on the citizenship of the donor, who is traveling on a tourist visa. In case of travel restrictions, the donor is provided with assistance. If there are financial or legal problems, the donor is also supported. The donor can be accompanied by one person, and upon arrival, he is met by a representative who helps at all stages before hospitalization. Accommodation at the hotel before the operation is paid by an intermediary. The donor and the recipient get acquainted and undergo a medical examination together. Transplantation is allowed after the medical council gives a positive conclusion. One person can donate only one organ, a kidney, part of the liver, or bone marrow. The compensation is $20,000 for the bone marrow, $50,000 for the kidney and $60,000 for a part of the liver. After an operation performed by leading specialists, the donor needs 10 to 30 days to recover, and the initial stage of rehabilitation is paid for by an intermediary. After discharge, the donor receives recommendations from a doctor, but no further follow-up is carried out in his country since the operation is safe for his health. At the same time, the process is more complicated for the recipient, involving greater risks and a longer rehabilitation period. There are various methods for transferring money, such as bank transfer or using American Express checks. Checks can be cashed after arrival, as you are allowed to carry no more than $10,000 in cash. Organ trading is a business built on trust. We are often asked about guarantees because they are afraid to wake up without organs, without money, or not wake up at all. But in fact, there are no guarantees simply because it is unclear in what form they should exist. So here the relationship is built solely on trust. Says the hero of the interview. There is no specific legislation on transplantation in Russia, unlike the United States, where sanctions in the form of a fine of $50,000 or a 5-year sentence are provided for organ trafficking. Legal norms in Russia are uncertain. The existing federal law, adopted under Yeltsin in 1992, is overly generalized and ineffective. In Argentina, there is no such law at all, whereas in Iran, commercial transplantation is legal and under strict state control. Donors are often people from socially vulnerable backgrounds, which entails risks associated with poor health and an unfavorable lifestyle of donors. For more than a century, for 130 years, official work has been underway to counter the illegal exploitation of people and related problems. The first international meeting dedicated to combating trafficking in women was held in London in 1899. According to recent reports, at least 48 million people in the world live in conditions where they actually have no right over themselves. As indicated by the Global Slavery Index, the greatest problems with this are observed in some countries of South and Central America, as well as in Central and East Africa, the Middle East and Southeast Asia. More than half of all human exploitation atrocities occur in 5 countries: India, China, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Uzbekistan, as confirmed by the Global Slavery Index. In the regions of the Middle East and Southeast Asia, there are international groups that engage in illegal organ transplantation and often seek donors from the local population. It is necessary to be critical of such information, since international data may be distorted due to political circumstances. Some human rights groups have leveled accusations against China for pressuring supporters of the Falun Gong movement, which some Russian analysts call a destructive sect. Since 2001, there have been controversial reports and articles in the press that hundreds of thousands of adherents were imprisoned without trial, where they were allegedly tortured and killed, as well as illegal organ harvesting. Despite numerous checks by public figures, international organizations, and diplomats, these allegations have not been confirmed. Between 2013 and 2014, the US FBI uncovered more than 900 fictional cases of harassment of Chinese people for their political beliefs, which was related to migration fraud. These actions were motivated by the desire to obtain refugee status or a residence permit in the United States. Human rights organizations around the world are expressing concern about the organ donation situation in China. This country is known for very short waiting times for donor organs, sometimes as short as 2 weeks. In 2006, the Chinese government acknowledged that organs from executed criminals were used for transplants, a practice that was started in 1984 by the Ministry of State Security to help Chinese patients in need of organ transplants. China is currently seeking to abandon this practice. Transplant clinics operating outside the law are located in Turkey and Egypt. Wealthy residents of the United States, the Gulf states, the European Union, Israel, and Russia often become their clients. Since 2012, out of 4 million Lebanese refugees, 20,000 have sold their kidneys, although the terms of these transactions are questionable. International law enforcement agencies are not actively fighting the leadership of international criminal networks, as the press notes. Although it is not difficult to find the source of the problem in the tissue trade chain, only a transplant operation is legal. Organ trafficking is illegal in most countries, but influential medical institutions, business structures, and political groups are involved in the process. For criminal gangs, the current organ donation system is ideal for ruthless exploitation. The law prohibits payments for organs, but companies can invest heavily in the development of transplant infrastructure, similar to oil companies' investments in production. At the same time, the cost of obtaining organs is often minimal. Confidentiality requirements make it impossible to trace the origin of bodies and organs on the market. Anonymity allows buyers to purchase organs without fear of origin because no one will ask questions. The donation system, hiding behind ethical standards, eliminates any objections and allows intermediaries who receive the main profit to control the entire process. Purchasing an organ becomes as simple as writing a check. In 2011, Bombora Publishing House published the work of American reporter Scott Carney, The Red Market: How the Trade of Everything That Makes Up a Person Works. Such markets offer a wide range of products, starting with hair for extension and ending with kidneys intended for transplantation. The book is a partial study of the problems of the existing system of collecting organs and bodies. Today's red markets are characterized by unprecedented scale, ubiquity, and high profitability. Currently, the global demand for donor organs for transplantation remains extremely high, while it is satisfied only by 5 to 10%. Not all states have a legislative framework governing such procedures, although the need for donor organs exists everywhere. The shortage of organs is compensated by clandestine international criminal networks, which include qualified doctors. We will now provide information gathered from a variety of sources, including conversations with black doctors and their clients over the past 2 decades. The data provided here are indicative and cannot be considered reliable. They are provided solely to satisfy interest in the value of human organs on the black market. 2 kidneys cost up to $50,000, liver from $200,000 and above. The pancreas is $70,000, bone marrow is $23,000 per gram. Given that the average adult male body contains about 2.5 kilograms, the total cost can reach $57 million, although it seems unrealistic. Bone marrow can be considered the most valuable organ because of its high cost, easy to pieces up to $200,000. The cost of a human eye, the average price of a cornea is $350,000. Sex glands, male or female, up to $15,000. In this case, the cost of organs is not so high. The cost of human fat, considering that many would give it away for free, is the same $15,000 per litre. But note that if organs are removed after death, their cost is reduced by about half. Thus, if you calculate, the total value of a person sold in parts or as a whole can be quite significant. However, there is no guarantee that it will be possible to find buyers for all organs. For example, there is no information about the cost of the brain, therefore, its value is manifested only in the process. Its sale also seems to be a difficult task, but there is a demand for human bones. For example, on the website SkullsUnlimited.com you can legally purchase human bones. A full brush costs $335, a kneecap costs $35, half a skull costs $650. These prices are significantly lower than the cost of organs. In almost all countries, possession of human bones is not a violation of administrative or criminal law, although problems may arise at customs if there is no explanation of the origin of the bones. With regard to the latest trends, 3D printing is becoming an increasingly popular topic of discussion. However, the integration of this technology into medical practice will take at least 10 to 15 years, so drastic changes should not be expected in the near future. Creating a functional organ is a much more difficult task than just arranging cells in a certain order. The human body uses a variety of mechanisms to regulate the process of cell division, including signaling molecules, receptors, and chemicals, which must be in precise quantities and proportions. It is a difficult task to determine at what point and in what way molecules signal to cells about the need for division. That is why previous attempts to grow organoids, the precursors of artificial organs, in the laboratory often ended in failure. The cells excessively adhered to the nutrient medium, which prevented their reproduction. A living organism can be compared to a biological machine, the effectiveness of which is determined by the harmonious and high-quality work of its components, organs. These organs have evolved over the years to acquire their current forms. Each organ has a unique structure and anatomical characteristics, and each plays a role in a complex system of physiological processes. Our cells present unique markers on their membranes, known as antigens. When the immune system detects elements that are not marked with these markers, it immediately initiates an inflammatory reaction. T lymphocytes produce antibodies that are directed to foreign cells and begin to destroy their membranes, which leads to tissue death. In the context of bone marrow transplantation, it is known that aggression may not come from the host organism to the transplant, but rather from the transplant against the recipient. A weakened patient may not be able to withstand such an internal conflict, which sometimes leads to serious complications, up to a fatal outcome. So, we have come to the end of our journey to assess the value of the human body. We have learned that every element, every cell and organ in our body has not only biological, but also economic value. However, the most important thing to remember is that the true value of a person is not measured by money. Our health, abilities, and life experience are invaluable. We hope that this video has helped you take a fresh look at the miracle that is the human body and inspired you to take care of your health and well-being. Don't forget to share this video, like and subscribe to our channel to learn more amazing facts about the world around us. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.